A late afternoon on a glorious Thursday, and confidence was in the air.
Hey, we're going to win today. We're going to win. We're going to score 40 points on them Bears. We're going to bear hunting. It's bear hunting season.
They're going to be looking real good if they can win tonight. When they win tonight.
We got this. In the bag, we got it.
Oh, we're gonna beat the brakes off them tonight.
But in front of a national audience, our prime performance, pitiful was more like it. What are you most disappointed in about this loss?
The defense, they really let us down tonight.
We got down early, couldn't get back up.
The visitors left with their first victory in almost a year. And in the wake, the home fan base demoralized yet again.
They didn't come out and play. You look at it in the sense of the game started at 8:15 and they didn't show up until what, 9:15?
We have the best front four on defense in the entire NFL, and they can't get to the quarterback for love or money.
How did this happen, and where do the Commanders go from here?
We'll be back next week.
You said that last week. On this Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus.
The man
Call somebody,
is back,
tell
y'all.
somebody.
We're
He's
back.
back. Call
He's
your
back.
mama, call your
Tony
daddy.
is back, and we're back.
We're back.
Tony McGee,
He's back, y'all.
We're back. Tony
Hey.
McGee. Come on.
Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee. What's up?
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. Well, I got to do a little business right here, cleaning it up. A lot of people last week thought we were really hard on the Commanders. We're not hard. All we do is bring information. Just like when you're in court, they have the amicus curiae. That's the person that comes to court and just give information. He's not on either side. That's what we do. So since we went to court, I brought in some of the main testimony. I brought in a guy that used to play with the Commanders, but they were the Redskins then. He was an excellent quarterback then, probably could play now. Jason Campbell, welcome back.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me on. It's been a while.
Then I go back and I bring in a young guy, world-renowned basketball player, played over in Europe a little bit, but he's always followed the football. Been a Redskin Commander fan for a long time, but he's not too happy right now. So he's going to be a good witness. I'm talking about Solomon McGee. What's up, man?
Appreciate y'all. Glad to see the crew here again. Let's get it going.
You're going to get it going. Then you have to have a jury. So I brought in my people who's here all the time. I brought in the G-Man. He's real cool. Got the Alex, and I got V. Hopkins. Now, G-Man, we might as well get started. We're going to talk offense. But you said last week, when the defense doesn't play well, nobody plays well. Now, you look at that game. Chicago hadn't won a game in how many years? And they come and we allow them to beat us. What's your thoughts?
That was definitely an embarrassing moment. Like, there's no way that I thought we'd lose that football game, especially by that amount. Like, I thought us giving them 5.5, 6 points was no big deal at all. Like, we would definitely cover. But to get spanked like that in your own house after you played a pretty good game the week before, at least offensively you did, it was embarrassing. I mean, it truly is. They really need to deep down, go look at themselves deep down inside and figure out, what are they doing wrong and how can they play better.
It's so funny that, hey, Tony, it's so funny that Gary said that they need to go and look in the mirror at themselves, because that's exactly what some of the players were saying. Terry McLaurin, he said that he was going to, as a leader, to step up and the guys come with him. He said, but they have to decide what kind of season this is going to be moving forward. Either they're going to be losing moving forward, or they're going to turn around this broken ship right now that's sinking, especially from the defensive side. But I'm holding my tongue with the defense right now, Tony, because I'm holding that for when we start to talk about defense. But I don't even know why we're talking about the offense as much as we're talking about the defense, because that side of the ball is the broken side right now.
Exactly. But at the same time, the offense scored 20 points, but they did not do it in the beginning. That's what I looked at this game right there. You had an opportunity to put these guys away early. You did not do that. gave them an opportunity to get well ahead. And then there they are, having won a game in a year and a half, but they beat us. That's what we have to look at as a team. And Alex, when you look at that kind of stuff, you tell me your thought process on it.
Tony, it seems sort of unconscionable that they could have lost this football game, but by now, a few days hence, it's obvious it wasn't that far-fetched. Maybe the emotional lift, and I guess I'm grasping, of Dick Butkus's passing. Somehow, maybe whoever Chicago was going to play on that night, they were going to play their best, most profound, spirited football. I don't know how much that played a part of it. I know the home team apparently didn't come out to play. Again, national audience all week long. The players, everybody's making a big deal. Let's pack the house, which they've done. And everybody's all fired up. Donna's talking to fans in the parking lot. Everybody's fired up. And then that happens. And the fact that the defense was so responsible for that happening, it doesn't seem plausible. It happened. I would say maybe it's just a one-off, except for it can't be a one-off because they've lost 3 straight. I guess they'll talk amongst themselves, as some folks have alluded. They've got to figure out how to get out of this. At halftime, the coach said something to the reporter like, I'm going to let them figure this out. Well, the players didn't figure it out because the second half, it was better. It wasn't good enough. How they get out of this, I don't know. It was the worst loss at the worst time against the worst team or the so-called worst team. Tony, I don't really know where they are. I don't know.
The coaches
I don't
didn't
think
figure
they
it
know
out
where
either.
they are either. I think that they have to really figure that out, and that's why I'm going to go to Jason right now. It wasn't really all the quarterback's fault offensively, but the offensive line seemed to be hindering him. Can this young man play with this offensive line? Does he have the tools to do that? Talk to me, Jason.
Well, yeah, the one thing about playing football is you got to get off the bus and get out of your cars ready to play. You got to come out playing with some emotions. I just feel like in the Chicago game, maybe they felt like the way that they came back against Philadelphia and they had a chance to win that game at the end, that they thought that maybe some of that momentum would carry over to Thursday, but not understanding that it was the opposite for Chicago. They had a game won against Denver, and all of a sudden they gave the game away at the end. And when you're playing a team that's thirsty and hungry for a victory, and at that time they hadn't won any game, and you just had a tough loss on the road, coming back home, you got a long time to prepare for the next game after your Thursday night game. So you in your mindset, you're like, hey, we got to do whatever it takes to prepare within 2 to 3 days to get ready for Chicago. We get a break after that to kind of go back and see, self-scout ourselves from the first couple of weeks and see where we are. But you can't come out there on Thursday night with a house full. You're at home. Chicago has a short week, but they have to travel. You have a short week and you're at home. So you should be a little bit more rested than them at this point. And then from an offensive line standpoint, like you were saying, you basically got to come out and set the tempo. You got to come out and attack the defensive front of Chicago and let them know that they're in for a long night. But how you do that is you got to run the football early in the game. You got to kind of get those offensive linemen into a rhythm, get them used to like being the attacker and not being the one that's being attacked in a passing situation. But I just feel like this team, they start off slow, but then all of a sudden they pick it up in the second half. They dig themselves in such a hole that's so deep, they exasperate so much energy that they don't have it at the end to fulfill the game.
Hey Tony, before you go to Solomon, Jason talked about running the ball. Let me just give you some stats right there because they did not run the ball that much. 10 carries, 29 yards, and Sam had 19 of those 29 yards, and Brian Robinson 6 carries for 10 yards. They did not run the ball, but hey, they got behind and they couldn't. But everybody is basically saying, why isn't Eric Bieniemy running that ball a little bit more? Because that's the offensive line. They block better when they run the ball versus pass blocking.
But do they block better? And that's what I'm going to ask you, Solomon. You've been watching them. Do they block better? Can this offensive line block either the run or the pass? I see them doing well at some time, but just like they got behind, then they had to go to the pass. Week before last, they went to the short pass and it seemed to work. This week didn't seem like anything seemed to work.
Well, the way the game started out, I mean, going with a long bomb down the field to their first player, to a guy that we know was going to show up because he's from the DMV area, that set the tone of the game to me. Basically getting beat and then the corners not being able to contain the receivers going deep and then there's no pressure. That's what set the tone. So then by the time the offense got on the field, that was a collapse. They weren't running the ball. I feel like I don't think Robinson was being utilized a lot, or either Gibson, but it seemed like it just wasn't a good day overall. That's one thing I look at. Everybody, and if we're just going to be honest, and that's what this show, and that's why I love this show for 39 plus years, honesty's on this show. We sucked all around. Magic Johnson. No, and that's one thing I'm loving about Magic Johnson. I saw the owner, Josh Harris, smiling after that game. I saw that Magic Johnson he looked just like when they lost against the Celtics. He wasn't happy. And that's one thing I'm thinking is going to actually bring to this table is not being content and being happy with the loss. Hearing the same thing every week. We're going to go look at tape and clean it up. Just like I heard a reporter ask Riviera at the end, he's like, you're always holding yourself accountable. Who else are you holding accountable for these losses on the team, or starting out very slow and then you come back in halftime and score 17 points, the same 17 you could have scored the first half?
Well, they seem like in the beginning, and I'm going to go to you, G, and I don't think it should be any game, not because you said it, but because it's the truth that you don't have your wide receivers involved early. They did that, then they went away from it. Why do you think that is? They should get these guys in so they can loosen up that defense somewhat.
I agree. I mean, I think their power is in their receivers, quite honestly. And there's a reason why you start running the ball. Ran the ball 10 times and you got 6 yards. Well, I'm not gonna keep running the ball. 10 times I get 6 yards. I'm losing ground when I run the ball. So he's really got to concentrate on getting the ball to his receivers, whether they're doing the short passes, mid-grade passes, or long passes. You got to have somebody that comes up to make a play, especially when things are going wrong. That's when you need somebody to come up and become a playmaker, especially your existing playmaker. Somebody has to make the play to change momentum. Football is all about momentum, 100%. If something's going bad and you turn it around, all of a sudden now it goes your way. So they didn't do that, unfortunately. And right now, everybody's starting to look at them the way that they looked at them last year, as being a team that is just not that good right now. And
Tony, hold up. Hold up, Tony. You're talking about getting the receivers the ball and everything. Look, he would be able. The receivers are wide open, and he needs to get rid of the ball a little faster because he's still holding onto the ball a little bit too long. He got sacked 5 times. So it's not like he's not trying to get it to the receivers and everything. He's got the defensive players in his face half the time that he can't get it there. And all these slow starts on both sides of the ball, that's the thing that's killing this team. It's almost like, hey, how long does it take you? A fan said, man, the game started at 8 o'clock and it took them almost to 10 o'clock to get started and everything, Tony. But this is the crazy thing is that Eric Bieniemy is putting together a good offensive scheme for them to run. But if they, like Gary said, somebody has to step up at this point and make plays. If the receivers, I mean, it was a lot of drop balls, and then Logan Thomas got the ball punched for him because those DBs on the other side was being aggressive. So to me, they didn't come out hitting them in the mouth to start off the game. They let them push them around like they were rag dolls.
When you talk to them, what was the feeling? Did they feel like this was a fluke, or did they feel like this was something that they could get over? I mean, this is the 5th game of the year, and we're already talking about fever in the factory rolling balls of funk because they're in trouble if they lose this next game. What are they feeling like? What were they talking about in the locker room?
Well, the atmosphere was almost like that they were shocked that they lost this game. They players were angry on both the defense and the offensive side of the ball. Sweat said that people just need to do their jobs right now. And he said that's the problem right now is people are not doing their jobs and that they're upset. They're looking at this season, even though we're going into the 6th game of the season, they know that they need to step on the gas pedals right now, because I think that the way they got beat, no pointing of the fingers or anything like that. But they said that during this break that they had playing on Thursday and going into, playing Atlanta next, this long break is going to have to make time for them to look in the mirror at themselves and figure out what kind of team they want to be moving forward.
Now, I tell you what, talking about that, though, and we hate to be at this point of the year, and, Jason, you guys had some years where you had problems like that, and when we come back, we will get on the defense a little bit for the simple reason that they
know a lot.
You just been waiting for that, have you, Donna? But it wasn't the defense. You look at the whole team. It was the whole situation. And I didn't look at. They looked at Chicago, which was my beginning team, and I got a story for that once we get out. But we're going to take a break right now and go out because we coming back. Put the kids to bed because this could be ugly. We're talking about the defense. We'll be right back.
I think it's just we gotta be better than that. Last few times we've been in this stadium, the last 3 games we haven't finished or we gotten blown out. So that's not what you want to put on film. I don't think that's indicative, like I said, who we are. But it doesn't matter what you are inside; is what you put out there on the field. And I'm a big believer in that. And so I'm gonna continue to try to be a better person, be a better leader, be a better player, and try to bring some guys with me. And but it's time for just all of us to look in to see either this could be a long year or we can, figure out how to fix things and come back and we got Atlanta next week. So, yeah, we got to figure it out quick.
Do you think you all need to reset a little bit now?
Yeah, we definitely got to get back in the lab, see what's going on, and everybody need to look in the mirror and move forward from there.
Is it frustrating knowing that this defense is better than what we're seeing in these last probably 4 games?
Yeah, it's very frustrating, especially knowing the guys that we got in the room, knowing the guys we got in the locker room is definitely frustrating. We came out flat. We got this memo that we like to get punched in the mouth first and then respond. We got to stop doing that.
We watch the film, and then it's on to the next game. Don't got no time to be dwelling on the past, man. Got a lot of football left, and it's about getting better and improving each and every week.
I don't look at it as more frustrating or less frustrating. I think at the end of the day, it's either you made your play or you didn't. So if you don't make your plays, you're going to be frustrated. It's going to haunt you. It's going to be tough to sleep. But that's life as a DB. And like I said, tonight he made plays that we didn't, and it showed out.
When you look at this defense, the talents out here. What's been happening in the last few games?
We just ain't been making the plays that we need to make, you know what I'm saying, to get off the field and help our team win.
Is it frustrating that some of the things that's happening out there, is it fixable? How do you turn this around?
I mean, we just got to keep going, you know what I'm saying, come in every day, keep working, watch the film, and just make the plays that come to us, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, we got talent, but if we're not making plays, then that talent don't mean nothing.
I tell you, Donna, and speaking to them, and they're saying all the right things, but it's not happening on the field. Where do we go?
Hey, you know what, Tony? The surprising point about this is that going into the season, everybody looked at the offense of us having patience with them. Nobody envisioned that it would be the defense that is falling and sneaking up the field right now. And right now, that they've got so many broken pieces on there. No pass rush, missed tackles, not wrapping up the guy. It looks like the secondary is lost out there at times. They've got 10 yards between them and the receivers. And then Emmanuel Forbes, this is the rookie cornerback, had 2 rough games. And Ron Rivera said that it's technique, but he talked about being technique in general, of people not being in the places, trying to do too much, jumping routes and all of those things. Right now, people asked, and Chase said that don't blame it on Jack Del Rio because it's not him. Well, Chase, is not only him, but is the defense as a whole also, because I know everybody said players play, coaches coach, but you got to put the players in the right position. And if those guys are not doing their jobs, you need to rotate. A quick question for you, Tony. The rotation with this team right now, they seem to be rotating people in all the time, in and out. When you look at the Darrell Greens, the Champ Bellies, the you and Charles Manns and all those guys did not rotate as much. Are they rotating these guys in too much where they can't get a feel for the game?
Well, everybody's trying to do it. The thing that is really prominent right now is keep them fresh. And so they're putting guys in. That worked well a couple of years ago when they had 2 or 3 really good backups on the bench. They don't have those people right now. So when you go in, you see a drop in the play. Also, you have to look at, and we were talking about this earlier the week, this is Chase's first week back. So the whole defense has to learn how to play with him. He has to learn how to play with them. One thing I see is techniques that I know they should know better back. When I see a defensive lineman jump straight up rather than going straight and taking over the line of scrimmage, that's not happening. When a defensive lineman stops his feet, or when a linebacker does not get to the middle zone knowing that the tight end is going to get there, you're not doing your job. When a defensive back go for the fake because he's so afraid of getting beat on the pass that they can run up to you, this is happening with all this. This is coordination. And Solomon, you watch me play. You have been raving about this defense. You said you had something to say about it. Tell me what you feel.
What I'm feeling at this point, Pops, is they need to pick up the phone right now and call 78, 71, 72, and rest in peace 65. Because at the end 77, World Grant. Because even with Chase Young having a pretty good game the last game, it's still all hard work. No hand play, no slap technique, no baiting. All the things I watch people like my father do, Dexter Manley, like they relied on athleticism, but it was so many schemes. They're not doing any of this. And also what I'm seeing is this. I knew if my father couldn't get to the quarterback, he knew that he had a Darrell Green back there or Virgil Say or somebody, Vernon Dean, that he knew that was going to make up for it. If we don't, like, let's think about this. So if we don't get a pass rush, you mean to tell me every time we don't get a pass rush is going to be a completion? Where I look at the corners, it's like, are you relying on the pass rush too much? At the end of the day, Darrell Green had a job to do whether my father got to the quarterback or not. And I'm just going back to 2 interviews ago where I heard St. Jude made a comment that lets me know his mind frame coming in. It's not a Mamba mentality. He already told a reporter saying, what did you guys think? We were going to go 18-0? When he said that, that lets me know, because every time I step into anything, even as a classroom, I want to go 18-0. Even if I'm not going to go 18-0, my mentality is that when St. Jude told me that, he plays like a person that doesn't, if we go 18-0 or not. When he said that to the reporter, it lets me know the mind frame and the mindset of the defense. But it doesn't help when you get off the field and you sit down just to get some water, and by the time you're getting your water and taking your helmet off, you're back in because the offense is 3 and out.
And you said a good point there. And I go to G-Man. G-Man, well, their receivers really that good. I mean, their receivers just ate us up. Were they really that good? He had a quarterback that he ran for many yards and ended up having 3 or 4 touchdowns and 250, 67, whatever yards he had. And they had not even broached that in the last few weeks. Were their receivers really that good?
They were good on that day. And that's the most important thing. Is like, each game you take it game by game, and the key is to have good games and then have great games and try not to have too many bad games. If you can keep yourself to having 1 bad game, 2 bad games out of most of the season, you can come out okay. But when you have multiple bad games back to back, like our defense is having right now, I mean, they really do need to have some of the veterans who have history of winning going into the locker room possibly and having a conversation with them about, honestly looking yourself in the mirror, honestly making sure that you don't let your teammates down. Because when we played, that's what it was about, not letting our teammates down. Like I wanted to play good because I didn't want to let my defensive people down. Anytime I dropped the ball, I was letting defenses down because I'm giving them a chance to have to come back on the field to make up for my mistakes. And, the key is you have to understand that if I make a mistake, make up for it. People make mistakes. The key is making up for the mistake that you made.
Hey, Tony, wait a minute. Hey, Jason, did you hear Tony talk about the receivers torched them? No, Tony, it was only one receiver that torched them. DJ Moore, 8 catches for 200.
He caught so many passes, I thought it was 4 of them out there.
From the DMV area, the first 2 catches, I think DJ Moore had over 100. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think if Jason right now throws me 2 passes and I get one is 58 and the other one is 50, Is my point. I think I can give Jason right now a 400-yard game. I feel like with me having 100 for the first 2 catches, and that's only the first few minutes, I feel like with as good as Jason Campbell is, I feel like by the time the third quarter hits, I can at least have 300 yards, especially if my first 2 catches pops were.
He almost did, Solomon.
And the thing about it is, you got when you come in as a defense, you know that DJ Moore is, that's Justin Fields' comfort zone. His passer rating is 158.3, throwing the ball to DJ Moore. So if that's who he feels most comfortable with, then that's the guy you got to try to take away the most. Force him to have to throw the ball to everybody else besides DJ Moore. You double DJ Moore, you take him out of the game, and you make Justin Fields uncomfortable. They never made him uncomfortable in the game. They was able to run him a little bit in the game to make him feel like he was a part of it. But the one thing, you watch Justin Fields over the first couple of games, he gets frustrated easily when you get to him early. And I was just shocked that they didn't do some type of, play cover 2 or 2-man on DJ Moore, and then come with some type of blitz, to get Justin Field off his spot. So he's not sitting back there waiting on DJ Moore to have to run those deep over routes, to run deep post routes and get down the field for Justin Fields to have an opportunity to see him, because Chicago had so many injuries up front on their offensive line. This should have been a game that should have been dominated by our defense because of all the injuries that they had up front. So that tells me that either they came into this game feeling like they already had the game won, or they just not trusting each other, because defense is all about trust. Like, you got to be in your gap where you're supposed to be at. If I'm a backside defensive end and I'm a backside linebacker, I know I got to stay home sometimes, because I know that counter can come back to me, or I know a reverse or some type of play action that's going to bring a drag route from the other side to my zone. I can't get out of my lane and say, oh, I want to be over aggressive because I want to make sure I get the tackle. You got to take the eye out of it when you're playing defense. It's all about the team and making sure that you're doing your job, and everyone not trying to overflow, because you can be too aggressive as a defense where you get out of position and you give up big plays. And I think that's what's happening to Washington right now, is they're trying to be too overly aggressive instead of everyone just, like they said, do your job, play your position. You don't have to get every interception. You don't have to get every sack. Just do your job. It's going to come to you.
Hey, Jason, I don't know why they thought this was a cakewalk coming into this game, because this team defense has given up 144 points in 4 games. And you're talking about those guys jumping routes and everything, those long passes, explosive passes, when they do jump the route and just not do their job. Let me just tell you this. The Bears had long plays of 58, 39, and 56. And Solomon talked about that a little while ago, about those big plays in the beginning by DJ Moore. And that's what's killing them right now, is that their technique as a defense overall is bad. Tony,
I think Jay hit it. Let me just say this before you go. I think he hit it, and he hit it for all the positions on the team. Each position have to play their position. Just as he said, defensive ends have to turn and take the corner, whereas you can't get around. Middle tackles and stuff got to put pressure and make the quarterback move around. Defensive backs can't bite on the run when you already getting beat on the pass. Middle zone linebackers got to be able to stop the tight ends and everything. We saw none of that. But what I want to ask you, Alex, and we got a few minutes, is both quarterbacks, which one do you think have grown the most? They're both young. They both have struggled. But now you come to that game, look like Chicago had the best quarterback.
Yeah, we've seen what the Chicago quarterback can do. I mean, he's been really impressive at times. Team, not so much. And there's a lot of talk about the coordinators there and the coaches change. But Fields has been darn good at times. And the week before, he was good at Denver. So, listen, which quarterback was better on Thursday night? The winning team probably had the better quarterback on that night, because you got to win the game. That's the object. Whoever that coach was that said we play to win the game, he was right. This had nothing to do with, in my opinion, Sam Howell being ineffective. He was fine to good. They didn't lose that game by 20 because of Sam Howell.
No.
A couple things. I want to ask Tony something on this note. Solomon, when you were talking, and I go way back as a fan of this team, back in the day when your dad was playing, not that long ago. Neither of us are that old, okay? I'll have you know this. But when you said 77 and 71 and 72 and 65, the late great Dave Butts, and your dad 78, You know what that means to folks watching that go back long enough, okay? Are we putting too much into how good this defense can be? Let's say the defensive front now, they're fantastic. They're the best part of this team. That front four on defense, along with Gary's wide receivers, that is the best part of this football team. Are we putting too much either pressure or stock on the linebackers and on the DBs? Darrell Green's not back there. Monty Coleman's not back there. Mel Kaufman's not back there. Okay, Sean Taylor's not back there. Are we expecting too much from the rest of the D? And maybe the opposing teams know we can't let this front four beat us. We'll get them some other way. Can they be as good as folks want them to be, Tony?
I'm going to call an audible on that because we got to take a break because I don't want to take up no time on that. And the next segment was going to be on special teams, and that's non-existent anyway, except for 2 kickers. So when we come back from the break, I will answer that question. Also, I'll let you guys know the secret. I'm working out. Does that mean he's coming back?
Oh, that's scary.
What's up?
Magic Johnson's not going to take that stuff. You know why? Because he's a champion. And when you have a champion, I don't matter what sport it is, you have a champion heart. That's what you have to have. Now, the question was, are we expecting too much from these defensive linemen? Are they expecting too much when they go in Monday to get their checks? Are they walking in to get their checks, or are they backing in? When they haven't got a sack or they haven't got a tackle? No, we're not expecting too much. You got 4 number ones up there. Sweat is playing. He's playing very well. I like the way Chase is playing there. He's back. The defensive tackles, I'm starting to worry about them somewhat because people are running on them continuously. I think that they are really maybe a little jitters because they know people are looking for a lot from them and they're not delivering. And when you're a young player and that happens, it kind of messes with your psyche. You can make plays and everything, but as soon as a play go bad, you say, oh, here we go again. That's what it looks is transpiring with this defense. So if you said, no, we're not expecting too much from them, Alex, as long as they're getting paychecks, they need to do their job. All the other 2 pros in here would tell you, and that's on your job. If you're not doing your job, you're not going to get paid. They're getting paid and not doing their job. So I'm just calling the way it is. I don't think they're going to be that way for the rest of the year, but this is an important time right now. They shouldn't be losing these games on down the line. And then you had a good week where you had Dallas get dogged, which I'm happy about that. You had the Giants who's the pretenders. And so, you know, you really had a chance to move up and do something then. But what we have to look at now is you can't worry about what they're expecting. We got to worry about what you're supposed to do, and you're not doing that.
Hey, Tony, let's back it up a little bit about that run defense. The defense gave up 178 yards on the ground.
Why do you keep bringing up every stat? You want to bring up?
Well, I'm just calling it out. You said to be for real. You said to be for real. I'm calling it out. They're not stopping anybody up the middle. Talk about what's going on as far as up that middle where they're not plugging those holes to give up 178 yards against Chicago, and the week before they gave up a lot. And Atlanta is not no walk in the park either. But what are you seeing as far as the tackles? And also, is it chemistry in this defense right now? As far as you said, Chase has just come back. Is the chemistry before, because last year when Chase was out, and I'm not saying that Chase is not playing well because he is, but you have to play as a unit across the defensive line. Is it communication as far as what's going on that defensive front? And also talk about the linebacker play as far as what's going on with them, because there's some breakdown there also.
Back up the truck, Donna, getting ready to run over some people.
Hey, they running over their stuff, Tony. They're tripping over their own feet.
Get ready to dog. But let me tell you this, you got to point.
They tripping over their own feet.
But what they're not doing is communicating. Now, I tell you what, whenever I was going to go, whatever team I was on, if I was going to have a guy that I can beat inside, I always told my defensive tackle before the play, cover me outside. I saw that on Thursday quite a few times where that didn't happen. A guy would make a good play, go inside, but then the other guy didn't come outside. So that's how the quarterbacks would get outside and throw the ball. No, it's coordination. Then when you say with the linebackers, these linebackers are so worried about the middle zone that you don't never see them making real big hits unless they're blitzing and everything. So they're trying to take care of that middle zone, and they're doing a decent job, but you got to take care of the run first. If you can't stop the run, the ball game is over in the beginning. So what I'm looking at, yes, those defensive tackles, but it's also the ends. It has to be communication, not just with the line, with the linebackers as well as the defensive backs.
Hey, Tony.
It's just not where you just go out and play. And that's what I look at these young players, they don't have game plans. You know, like when I came on this show, I knew I was going to have to dog Donna. So I knew what I could say to her. You can't.
But I knew I would be ready for you too. But
yeah, you've been waiting for this defense. But
but Tony, I'm not jumping on the defense if they had been doing good, because Gary called it last week. He said when they play bad, they play bad. But I want to ask Jason and Gary, being the receiver and the quarterback, what are you seeing as far as if you're the quarterback, Jason, and you're trying to scope out the defense, what they're doing with this Commanders defense, Gary? Are the DBs playing off too far and giving up too much ground?
You want me to go first?
Either one of y'all jump in.
Yeah, I see Gary trying to hide out with all that gray.
Yeah, he's trying to hide it. He don't want to talk.
That gray look good. I like it. Hey,
he got that gray going
good,
on,
man.
Hey, what you say, Jason? My father look like Shaft. You saying Gary look like
Shaft?
Daddy.
You know? Hey,
So
like
he
Shaft,
said you
bro.
look like Shaft. He said I look like Shaft Daddy.
Yeah, so he getting in shape. They all getting in shape. But the one thing about this defense, though, like you were saying, though, Donna, as a DB, and when you're a receiver, you look across at your defensive backs and everything. DBs, they a lot of their coverages are based off of formations. Like whatever the offense is throwing out there from a formation standpoint. If they have a true dog number one receiver, most of the time they'll do a cover 6, what we call cover 2 to that side, and the quarters is going to be to the other guys. And when you think about that, quarters used to give you more off coverage. Cover 6, that puts a man up 3 to 4 yards off the ball in front of the receiver, to jam him off the line of scrimmage a little bit, but he also has safety help. When you play quarters, if you're the outside DB, it's almost like man, because you have everything on outside of you. If that guy go post, you got to take it to the post, because your safety, if a tight end's out in the route, he's got to cover that tight end. So, there's just a couple of things that they got to make sure they're all on the same page when it comes to communicating for, like, hey, are we in cover 6? Are we in cover 2? Are we in man? Are we in 2-man? It's just those type of things. You look at the great defenses right now in the NFL. You look at the 49ers. You look at the Eagles. You look at the Detroit Lions. What all those guys do really well is they know how to get after the passer on third down without having to bring a lot of blitzing. And they're able to play back in coverage a little bit and drop 7 guys and not get beat deep. When you think about Washington from a standpoint, right now, since they're not getting so much pressure on the quarterback, they got to bring secondary pressure, which push your corners on the islands and push them by themselves a little bit to have to hold up. So, that's what I'm saying. You have to get to that point where scheme-wise, you have to protect your corners a little bit if they're not there yet, especially Forbes. He's a young guy, and I know he's a talented guy, but you can't put too much on him so early, so fast.
And you get a good point that schematically they have to make some changes too. It's just not the players. It's the whole organization what they're doing. It's the coaches, the players, and everybody, the coordinator. You all got to be on the same page. Now, we were supposed to talk about special teams in this segment. They had a good kicker. We had a good kicker. When we come back, we'll talk about around the league. Dallas got dogs. We'll be back in a moment.
So now I'm going to back, which is this right here. Lat pull down. I'm gonna do the same thing I did here 4 times. I'm gonna pull it down 4 times instead of 8. All right, down. This is the exercise I love the most because you get a chance to feel your back. You pause, You should not be doing this right here. Let's not do that. First of all, you're gonna jerk, you're gonna mess your back up. Because you're jerking and your joints ain't made for that. Come down, pause, and take it up slow. That's how you get stronger. Here we go. And you make that face. Up, down. Down. I get a chance to lock my back when I'm doing that, like I'm flexing. And normally with my clients, I would beat them up real bad. I have them do biceps first, then they do this. Whew. You talking about a workout. Oh, would you give me a track all day? I'll run, sprint, give me a heel. That's what I need. I'm a heel person. I train on heels all day. If I had to. Oh my God. I'm burning. So now I'll take off the weight. Now I'm doing straight arm. Push down, like this. Touch your body every time. Butt out, chest out. Straight. And when you do this exercise, even though we're working the prime muscle, which is the back, your triceps is feeling it too, because they doing some of the work as well. They are locking your arms, keeping it. This right here is so bad. I am burning this side. She got that camera on me, and I want you to stop so bad. But keep going hard though. Oh my God. This is when you take some weight off and get that. Let's put this on. Now you got a little wind. You defeat it a little bit. But I'm still practicing good form and technique. That's the main thing when you're doing weights. Form and technique. Oh! This little bitty weight's killing me too. There we go. Now you can feel it. It's like coming around that 400. That last 100. I'm about to get it in, shorty. Yes, sir. Ah. Nice and smooth. Ah.
Ricky Irvin had a great piece. And when you start working that chest and arms and different things, all of you guys, take advantage of this, because I tell you what, if you get a look at the young man, he looked like he can still play. Talking about still play, do you think we'll need him on Sunday? I'm going to tell you what, if you look at this team they're playing, and I watch them because I live down here, they are almost the same team we have, but our offense is playing a little better than their offense, but their defense, which shouldn't be, is playing better than our defense. But they are vulnerable, and this is the kind of game with Atlanta. They're dangerous, but it's one that we should have, Donna.
Yeah, Tony. Well, you could say that about the Chicago game. It's one that you should have had. But shoulda, coulda is the $1,000 question. They, like you said, Tony, Atlanta is got a rookie quarterback too in Desmond Ridder. But they've got a great running back in Robinson also. Like you said, their defense is ranked 11th, and they're not no walk in the park either. They put the pressure up front, so that offensive line of Commanders are going to have to be ready. 18th in the league on offense. So this is going to be a tough game on the road with the Commanders. What team will come out? We don't know. Each week we say we don't know because we don't know.
Alice, everybody was talking about Dallas had the best defense in the land. And San Francisco just handled them like they were babies in the tub. What's up with that?
I know, Tony. Dallas gave up more points, I think, in yards Monday or Sunday night than they had in, I don't know, however many games they had just played. This is a week-to-week deal. Dallas looked so dominant the prior week. Now, part of this is just how darn good San Francisco is. The quarterback who came out of nowhere, this guy's really good. Either that or the system, unless anybody can do it, but I don't know that anybody can do it. Their offense is so dynamic. The running back, they got receivers. Their defense is great. They smacked Dallas around. They might do that to every other team save Philadelphia in the NFC this season. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, Dallas, and all you have to do is watch the national shows because there's this infatuation with the Dallas Cowboys. At least that's what the people that produce these television shows seem to think. Turn on the TV in the morning. Doesn't matter what the storyline is. They're talking about Dak. They're talking about Dallas. Do they need a new coach? Jerry Jones. They're up. They're down. They're darn good. They're better than Washington right now. They're not as good as Philadelphia. Clearly, they're not as good nearly as San Fran. But yeah, everybody watching this, many of the folks who dislike that football team are thrilled that Dallas got messed up with on Sunday night. But they're a formidable team. I mean, their defense should be good. They weren't great in that game. Dak can be really good. He wasn't in that game. But again,
yeah, 3
San Fran will do
consecutive.
that to lots of people. It just so happened to be Dallas in front of a national audience on Sunday night.
I'm so glad about that. It couldn't have been any better. I
But
wish
Tony-
they drug them up and down the field. But let me jump back to the Falcons before we get away from them. G, would you unleash your receivers early on this Falcon team? Because as I said, their defense is playing well, but their offense is not playing that well. If we release our running back and our receivers on them early, don't you think they can take this game over right away?
Yeah, I mean, just depends on which team shows up for Washington.
Mm-hmm.
True that.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. When they play well, they play well. When they play bad, they play bad, unfortunately. So, but it just depends on if the offense shows up like we know the offense can, and the defense plays like we know they can. They just haven't. They started off playing well, and all of a sudden they went into the last 3 games. They went into a funk. So, if both sides of the ball plays well, I mean, we can run away with the game. We got that kind of team. Because when we play well, we're a really good team. It's just when we don't play well, we're a really bad team. And
Jason,
that's what we've been for the last 3-4 years, unfortunately.
maybe even more than that. But think about Jason. Who's better, Philadelphia or 49ers?
Ooh. Right now, I'm gonna have to say the 49ers right now, just because of that kid Wagner, that linebacker that the 49ers got. Like, he just loves football. You know, he's a head hunter. You know, he's a guy that and you got Bosa on the side over there. Like, you know, you got that kind of edge pressure, all right, without having to bring secondary blitz. But it doesn't matter. Like, their defense coordinator last year when they got a head coaching job at Houston, and they get another defense coordinator, and they still look the same as they did a year ago. And, you know, those guys, they love football. They're hungry. You know, like, they feel like they got an opportunity to win a championship. And then from a play calling standpoint, I don't think there's anyone better than Kyle Shanahan right now. You know, maybe the guy down in Miami, you know, they're putting up the same kind of yards and more yards, you know, with that track team that they have. But I just feel like, you know, the NFC right now is going to come down to, you know, which defense, who's healthy at the end of the year. You know, 49ers started off like this, you know, last year in the middle of the season. They hit hot, but then the injuries got them late in the year. So it's not so much about being so hot right now. It's about getting hot at the right time. With those last 6-7 games of the year, you want to be heading in the right direction.
And you know what, Solomon, they saying get hot at the right time. And we going back real quick to this Falcon game because that's the one at hand. I said their defense is playing well. They got Big Campbell, the big defensive tackle, about 680. We got 99 sacks now. They got a good interior lineman. They got a very good defense. Do you think our team can stand up against them? Can our offensive line play against this defensive line? If they can they control it?
It's kind of going back to what Gary says. Who shows up? I'm going to be honest. First of all, I know the culture in Atlanta. So they're going to come in fired up. They're going to leave out fired up. It all depends on what kind of curfews our coaches have set for that night before. If our players are going to be out there partying with Future, or are they going to be watching tape, getting ready for the next game? Like Gary said, we don't know who we get like on a weekly basis. One thing my great-grandmother, the Lillian McGee, says, and she's been saying this for years, and it's kind of sad, she doesn't like when we actually get the ball first because she feels like we're not going to do well and we actually need to have the ball coming in the second half. That's a scary thing that we always have that thought of. If we don't have this first, we just got to go out and realize we got to take it to them first and bring the fire. But it shouldn't be if we end up with the ball first or the second half. We should be such ahead the second half. It doesn't matter whether we end up with the ball the second half or we're kicking it.
Hey, Tony, I'm laughing at Solomon. He said future. This could be the future if they don't come out and play.
It could be the end, too, but let's not go there. Let's talk about the AFC a little bit. And let's talk about
Tony, the AFC, let's jump right here. The AFC North is wide open. Pittsburgh beat Baltimore, and that was just a horrible game all the way around.
I want to ask you what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, it was just that Baltimore is beat up right now, not playing well at the quarterback position, and receivers missing wide open balls. So we talked about the Bengals, and they weren't even in the conversation at one time. And you talked about Cleveland being the team to watch, but it's wide open right now because Pittsburgh is 3-2, Baltimore 3-2, and Cleveland and the Bengals are 2-3. How do you all see that division shaping out?
Well, I told you the Bengals had a rabbit foot in their pocket last year, and they messed around and dropped it. So at the same time, Alex, we only got a minute, Alex, but I want to ask you this. Is Miami as good as the Billboard? I know they got all these fast receivers and everything, but are they as good as people are saying?
This week they beat the Giants pretty handily. Remember, they were coming off a game where they lost to the Bills. 2 weeks prior, they scored 70. So again, this whole thing is week to week. And some teams can look great, and the next week they can look awful. Miami, more often than not, with Tua and those fast receivers, can rack up the points. That head coach, who Jason mentioned, is kind of a trip in a good way. They seem to love to play for that guy, kind of a free spirit, like one of these offensive genius dudes who's like drawing up plays like in his sleep. Yeah, I mean, they in Kansas City are probably the best teams in the AFC. NFC, it's pretty clear. It's San Fran and Philly. Right now, if you had to pick a Final Four, it would probably be those four. But right now, it doesn't matter. It's not even Halloween yet. We got 3 months left of this stuff. So it can be fickle, pro football. Injuries are so key. But yeah, right now, Miami is either the best, I suppose, or second best team in the AFC, except for 2 weeks ago, they got smoked by Buffalo, who then went ahead and lost. So this thing is up and down.
It is unsettled, and I tell you what,
love it so much.
It is not Halloween, but it is trick or treat. I tell you what, you don't know what you're gonna get each week. And when we come back, we say the same thing with our picks. Our picks were so bad last week, fans, that they started not to even let us pick this week. We'll do better this week, and we're gonna close this out. I'm gonna ask each of the people, what does the Commanders need to do to win the game? We'll be back in a moment.
In the Minute with Tony and Donna. You can catch them weekly on their podcast, and you can also subscribe to their YouTube channel, In the Minute.
One more thing.
When you're not up in the picks, you don't show them that much, and you can look at our picks and see we're not doing well. We're not good on the winning side. But with that being said, I want each and every one of you tell me, Donna, starting with you, what does this team need to do to beat this Atlanta team? Very quickly.
Come like they want to play and win the game.
Alex.
Tony, they got to run the ball. You've got to run, and you got to, even if it's not working, you got to stick with it. I think they went I saw a stat, from the second quarter on against the Bears, they didn't try a running play. They may have scrambled for a rush. They didn't even try to run the ball. You got to run it. You got to stick with it, especially on the road.
Solomon.
Dominate.
That's the best.
All I'm going to say, they got to dominate.
Same thing Rick Walker called you, right?
Dominator. Dominator said they got to dominate. All aspects.
Yeah, for me, you got to start fast. You got to start fast in the first quarter, and you got to put pressure on. You got to put pressure on the young quarterback and Riddick, and you got to guard Pitts. And you got to stop Brian Robinson. If you do those two things defensively and you start fast offensively, you can win this game.
G.
He ain't got nothing to say.
Get the ball to Terry McLaurin.
All right, I like that. And like they said, we're going to rush on out of here. But I tell you what, we beat this up bad as we can beat it up, but we'll be back next week to do it again. But what everyone have to remember is that people got to look in the mirrors and want to make excuses, and they want to make a difference. We never say goodbye. We say in the minute.
39 years. Not many shows can claim a streak like that, but Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus sure can. Tony McGee, a burgundy and gold legend on the field and for decades now on the air, is once again excited to bring his one-of-a-kind program to his legion of fans across the Mid-Atlantic. How to last so long? By always delivering unique, insightful, entertaining, and oh yeah, fun. Lots of fun, week in and week out. Tony's cast includes the legendary Gary Clark, the impeccable Donna Hopkins on the Burgundy and Gold beat for decades now, as well as icons from Washington football, past and present, not to mention the Pro Football Hall of Famers who flock to Tony's show year in and year out. There is not a show dedicated to football fans like this one, and the proof is in the almost 4 decades that Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus has been the go-to stop for fans who want content that only Tony and crew can deliver. This season promises to be yet another exciting one for the team, the league, the show, and its fans, and we want you to be a part of it. There are sponsorship opportunities to fit your business's goals, 30 and 60-second targeted commercial spots, weekly segments dedicated to promoting your brand, on-air guest opportunities for you to share your company's mission, and so on. We'd love to discuss tailoring a sponsorship program that is just right for you, both in scope and in cost. For sponsorship opportunities, call 703-282-0792 or email info@redmadplus.com. Be a part of this historic season on this historic show, Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. 39 years and the millions of viewers over those years can't be wrong.